On blast.
Finally, Toxic T is going down the drain. Little pun there for you. I'm John Chidley Hill.
And I am Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge. Just off the top, Sheldon, I have to say something. I have to be a nerd here. You know who I am. This episode, I don't know if you caught that, but its name is Lady Vengeance. And all I could think about is how that'd be a great name for a character in Chaos Comics in like the mid 1990s, like 1995, Lady Vengeance. So that's a reference that perhaps no one will get. I can tell from your face you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So
you're speaking a different language completely to me right now. But that's okay. That's what makes this podcast work, right? We're coming from different angles here. I like it.
Well, I'll tell you what. If any of our listeners know what Chaos Comics was, give me a shout on social media. Help me out. Help me prove that I'm not totally crazy. It doesn't exist anymore. I don't think I ever bought a Chaos comic or read a Chaos comic, but I saw them in the pages of Wizard magazine. Anyway,
okay.
That was my first thought from the episode. What did you think? Starting off with Nani and Josh coming back, celebrating Josh's win.
I honestly thought Josh is going to handle this well and mature. But actually, I mean, he was all right. He wasn't that bad at all. It was fine. Corey, I like his energy. He knows that he has to basically steal a skull at this point. But I guess the big thing was Josh, Leroy, Cam, and Anissa. They were talking about how the game is about to change, obviously because all the skulls are available, but also setting the stage that, hey, we want to get Theresa out. That's still the plan. That's still the goal. That's still what it is. But all of these conversations lead us to the main, I think, Amber B was the topic of this episode, right? And right from the beginning, we get the setup here because Amber M, the rogue agent, she's rattled because Amber B voted for her, and Devin is just straight stirring the pot. And I was thinking that we were going to get the setup here where Amber B was going to be involved somehow, some way in the elimination. That's what I thought was going to happen. But we didn't really get there, did we?
No. I have to, I mean, you know me. I'm a Devin guy 9 times out of 10. I don't sign off on everything he does, but like I generally like him. I thought he did a really good job of piecing it together for Amber M, where he's like, okay, you know how everyone voted. Mm-hmm. You know it was a close vote. Who could have possibly flipped? And then I love how he's like, what show is she from? And Amber like, you know where everyone lies. He's like, uh-huh. And did she make wild promises to you about supporting you? And she was like, and Amber M was like, yes. And he's like, so therefore, like I really enjoyed like how he walked her through the logic of what definitely happened. We, the viewer knows what happened, but it was a very funny conversation to me.
And, there's been a lot of talk lately, I think, amongst fans of the show and regulars on this podcast about this season and how it is much more like your classic Big Brother and Survivor in terms of this season of the challenge is much more about the strategy aspect than it is about normal challenge seasons where you get some strategy, but you get some drama. And I think that the Nani Cam conversation where they're talking about Theresa and putting her in, you're really seeing that the players fully understand what's going on in the game now. What I mean by that is they're like, okay, we want to get Theresa out, but we don't want to put her in against the rookies. So that doesn't make sense. We got to figure out a way that she's going in against someone else strong. And that was really, Cam talking from a position where she doesn't want to go against her in a final. But it was interesting because Nani, she doesn't want to go against her in an elimination. Like Nani wants to get her skull, but she doesn't want to go against Theresa in an elimination. And I thought that was interesting because now we're seeing how the game's being played in terms of, well, we want to try to get certain people out, but we also don't want to give other people a certain chance to get their skull either. So this is where, to me, the real game is picking up, because as we find out later on, Casey and Leroy, being partners, even though they were working on with separate alliances, actually came to help Casey in this scenario, which is super weird and not something that I saw coming. I was wondering kind of how this would all play out. But what did you think of, I guess, the Cam Nany conversation there and Nany's role, and then how that led into Amber B and Amber, the Battle of the Ambers?
I thought it was interesting, and I noted this down, that in this conversation of like, oh, well, we don't want to put her against like a rookie, or like what rookie could we put in that could eliminate her? And the name Lolo Jones did not come up, because to me, that's an ideal situation, right? Because like Lolo's not really in any alliance. She's sort of his big brother. She seems to think, but like,
Yeah.
And I wondered if the issue is that just as they don't want to see Theresa in the final, they definitely don't want to see Lolo in the final.
Yeah.
So, if you have the situation where you're putting two people in an elimination together and you don't want either of them to have a gold skull, like that's not really a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was interesting. I mean, I was harsh last week on Cam and Kyle, in my mind, doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
But like I do see the logic of Cam still keeping her hand in and like trying to move the house in certain directions. I do think she takes things too personally when someone quote unquote crosses her. But I think I think this was sound logic. I have to say.
So hold on. Can I just say something here? Because
yes,
while we're on this topic, I'm remembering Sarah sent a message to me on Instagram that said, "Love the podcast per usual, but I have to maybe, and in all caps, maybe, disagree again about Cam and Kyle's strategy." Now, first thing I'll say is, you don't have to put in the maybe. It's totally okay to disagree with us. That's why we do the pod. That's why we read all these comments, because this is about the community and the greater challenge fam discussing what's going on week to week. And especially in a season like this where it's so based on strategy, I'm here for all the different takes. So here's what she goes on to say. I felt it was more like a chess versus checkers move by putting Josh versus Michi in. They guarantee that a weaker guy wins the final skull, taking the target off of both Devin and Kyle for sure, and also buying Leroy extra time. Throwing in Josh and Nany is also Cam throwing a bone, so it curries favor for her, but ultimately she knows that either Nany or Amber M would be challenged for a skull before her as well. If they put CT in, he could definitely win, and he's more likely someone that would try and steal a skull from Kyle or Devin and even Leroy before going against him. Interesting point, right? It is a chess move.
It is a chess move. I still stand by my comments from last week that I think that I think there's a beauty to simple plans, not just the Montreal punk rock band.
I was gonna say, I was like, I knew that pun was. I knew it was. Never mind. Go
on. And I just, to me, the move of like get your skull and lay low is foolproof.
Okay.
Rather than like get your skull and keep like making moves, because I do think that it increases the chance of putting a target on your back.
Fair, but what if she's also playing for Leroy? Right? And the move also helps Leroy and her partner, Kyle. Like, it's interesting, right? And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just strategy. No. So I find it interesting for sure. But speaking of strategy, right? We got Amber M and Amber B, the confrontation. And she tells her straight up, quote, "I don't like fake bitches." And I thought that was just, I've said it before, because the way that Amber M has been handling her business is very un-rookie-like. Because normally if we see rookies speak up like that, they normally put a bigger target on themselves and they're going in and they're like public enemy number one in the house. But somehow, because they have numbers and they have numbers on their side, I guess. And I guess in this instance, she's talking to another rookie, but She's just coming out and keeping it real, and I appreciate that. And the problem here to me, right, is that Amber B, Big Brother Amber, right? She didn't just cop to it. And I thought being called out in that moment, all you can do is just cop to it and say, hey, listen, like the game's getting down to the wire and I was put in a tough position where I had to basically pick a side. And, they had my back from the beginning, and it doesn't mean that I'm not cool with you. It's just that I had to make a decision. I still think you're really cool. I still think we're friends, blah, 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 but this is what had to happen. And instead, she was kind of just like blaming someone else and not even fully. If she was going to do that angle, just fully blame Darrell then. But she didn't even do that. She's just like talking in circles. And I thought it was a bad look. And I'm an Amber B supporter. I'm a Big Brother Amber supporter. But she didn't do well in this episode at all.
Coming into this season, I had no familiarity with either Amber.
Mm-hmm.
I had not seen Amber B's season of Big Brother. I'm sorry, folks, I've never watched a full episode of Are You the One? So I don't know Amber M's body of work. So I was, not to pin this on you, but I was just trusting you and your high opinion of Amber B. She is not my favorite Amber on this show.
Hold on a second here. Let's keep it a buck for a reason here, right? It's not like I was a huge fan of Amber B because she did such a great job and won her season of Big Brother. I don't even think she made it that far in Big Brother. She did okay on Big Brother. But that's not necessarily why I was a huge fan of Amber B. Is that fair?
Okay, that's fair. I agree with
Shout out to Haley, by the way.
Shout out to Haley. I also think that I really, as you said, I really like how Amber M is handling her business, not just in this episode, but she's a straight shooter. And we often talk about how, a way that Fessy fucked up this season is next season, he's going to have a harder time finding allies, right? Because he burned Nelson and he burned Corey.
Mm-hmm. Amber
M is doing great work, not just being assertive and not crossing the line of aggression, but she's also, if someone, a castmate that doesn't really know her, finds themselves on a future season with Amber M, they're going to be like, you know what, that Amber M, we've never met, but I know she's a straight shooter.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, let's be honest, neither Amber is going to win this season.
No.
But Amber M is putting herself in a better place to succeed.
Yeah, Amber M is definitely coming off a lot better. And even with when her and Gabby then, have their conversation and Gabby goes to Amber B to have a conversation as well. I liked how Gabby and Amber M handled this whole situation straight up, just saying, hey, I don't trust you at all. And even in that instance, with two of them being like, listen, there's no beef or anything, but I can't trust you after you did that. That's just straight up and honest. And I was disappointed with how Amber B handled it, just making terrible excuses and having really nothing to say.
The way she made her excuses to Amber M, it was also really transparent. Yeah. It was really not good. And then that conversation between Amber M and Gabby about how they don't trust her. I gotta say,
B stands for. I know what the B stands for. Backstabber.
I did not think she was going to say backstabber. That's not where I thought that sentence. Yeah. When she said, I'm like, here we go. She's going to call her Amber something else, and then she's like backstabber. I'm like, I almost felt like production was like, hey, Amber M, can you take a second round with that?
You know what? Along the lines of this, I have a theory. I have a theory about this whole entire season, and I'm going to bring it up right now because this just seems perfect. I was thinking about why this season seems and feels so different. And I wonder if it's because they're trying to branch out MTV The Challenge and make it a lot bigger, that maybe it could make the slide from MTV and air on CBS. You're going way too far the other way of the crazy partying and everyone's too drunk. You can't put that on CBS. But you could put this show on CBS, and it's still enough of the challenge. And I only say that because, I mean, full disclosure, there's a lot going on right now in the television business on both sides of the border. And so obviously the way that my brain's working, it's thinking about just what's happening and how you lessen production costs. And one way would be the parent company, which controls MTV and CBS, saying, hey, well, we already produced a show that does really good ratings over here. What would it do if we put it over here? Right. And that's just a cost cutting measure, right? Like there's a reason why if you watch the Super Bowl, they're doing all these things with Nickelodeon as well, right? You're doing that because the parent company owns both and you're trying to see how you can get resources that transfer and feed all the branches. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that because as we continue to watch this season, we keep saying over and over again, it's not as MTV-ish as we've seen in past years, and it's more strategy-based. And if you think about it, that's exactly why we also see people from Big Brother ending up on the challenge more and more. So I don't know. I haven't read that anywhere. I don't know that anywhere. I was just kind of curious about, okay. Could you put that on CBS on like a Thursday at 9 p.m. or something?
It's an interesting theory, and I think it has some merit, especially if you consider that this season, more than basically any other season I can think of, they've really leaned into a theme, right? In a way that Big Brother has like themed competitions, right? Like
Survivor, same thing.
Survivor, like I can't recall them. I wouldn't go so far as to say the double agents theme is a gimmick, but I can't recall them being leaning so heavily on like the like spy, espionage, sabotage.
For sure. No, I hear you.
Whatever it might be. You know, like there've been some funny ones, like certainly like the Battle of the Exes seasons where, you know, everything has like a romantic or sexual innuendo, but it's not the same, right?
Yeah,
like that's
no.
So I think you make an interesting point. We had what I thought was actually a really nice scene where Corey and Theresa are talking about their kids and the struggles that Theresa has had with postpartum depression. And Corey's talking about his girlfriend and her struggles with postpartum depression, and sort of, you know, he cops to not being around for the newborn phase of his eldest daughter, Ryder. And I mean, first of all, it's just like a really nice, genuine scene. And it was really cool to see Theresa advocate for that particular mental health issue. But I also thought it was interesting how Corey seems to be the guy now that people open up with in the house. And I think that speaks so much about his character. Like I like both Corey and Theresa, and like this was just such a real nice scene, like a nice moment of two people who I genuinely like talking about real life, like capital R, capital L, real life.
Yeah, I think for me, it was cool because we've seen them both in different phases of their lives. And so to have them catch up in this like adult parent side of their life was interesting, right? Because we're always thinking of it in the context of how we met this person. So for longtime viewers of the show to know about Theresa when she was first in the house and wilding out and partying and whatever, and same thing with Corey, it makes it interesting to see them now. And I thought that was really cool. It was a really interesting thing. And at that moment, I could kind of tell, okay, this might be the end of Theresa on the show because they're, you know, showing us the reality of her life, but also making her more real and making her a more sympathetic figure that you want to almost root for, because so far she's been painted as like Toxic T, this bad person. And that's really all based off of one decision she made early on, which was, you know, just a strategic move that might not have worked for her, but also from Nani and her having beef from before. That's really all this was billed as in terms of as a viewer watching and not liking Theresa. There was no real reason to not like Theresa. So when they come with this scene, great job by production, making you be like, oh, Theresa, she's a mom. She's a really nice woman. Oh, this is cool. So I get that. I got that. But it made going into the challenge, like the daily challenge, which was trivia time, it made it interesting because I'm like, okay, so Theresa's going down in this for sure. But it made me pay attention extra when the trivia started, because it was like, okay, I want to see who's going for who. How do the
Yeah.
lines actually play out? What is the strategy to get Theresa out? Because are you going to make her the houseboat? Are you right? Like all those things played in. But I know you're a fan, just like me, of trivia time.
I
And this
love
time they
trivia.
made it true or false, which I thought would be at least easier. But the one twist was you can sabotage, like if you get one right, you get to sabotage someone else and move their, I don't know, apparatus forward. Like you're standing on a ledge and it would move their ledge forward, and you can sabotage them so that it's harder for them to stand on the rig. And also Burger King was giving you $5,000 for the winner, which I thought was, I mean, again, we talked about this the last time they had one of these. An extra $5,000, like no problem for something that you'd be doing anyways. Why not? I'm here for that. So the one thing I was wondering was how far away your partner was. Like, could they hear the question and like help you? Was that not allowed? But I think it appeared that the answer was no. But there is a lot of questions here, and I just want to know from you, because I mean, it's tough to, we're not going to go through every single question, obviously, but what questions stood out to you that were kind of like, really? Like you didn't get that? Because for me, the very first question when they asked Corey, I don't even remember what the number was, but like the square root of whatever. And Corey was just like, first I have to figure out what square root means. I was like, all right, starting off trivia with a bang. Any questions that stood out to you for whatever reason, just because it was funny or because you were surprised someone got it right or wrong?
I mean, yeah. So there was, I early on in this, I was like, okay, I'm going to write down every question that they ask, and Sheldon and I can go through them one by one. But it was such a long segment that I'm like, there's no
way
way
too
to
many. Yeah,
translate to
yeah,
like,
way too many.
it would take forever. And also,
We've
like,
got the answers.
we've got the answers, and significantly, they skipped through some of the questions. Like, they would show people like answering or like moving forward, but not the actual ones. I think the one that stuck out to me was Lolo Jones. I don't know why I keep saying her full name today. Lolo, not knowing that DC is not a state.
Yeah. And here's a part where I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt that you would know something, but because they're questioning you on it, you would think that you're kind of nervous. Do you know what I mean? Like you're nervous, and so they're asking you the question, and so you're like, is this a trick question? They're tricking you, right? There's a trick that I'm not getting there. And also, I think I would be super nervous just hanging from that thing, however high up in the air they were. Like I'd be rattled. So like, you know, obviously there are some questions that were super obvious, but at the same time, it's like, I can kind of understand, because I think about it in my perspective. I would be scared shitless, and I don't even know. You could ask me my name, and I might be like, is that a trick question? I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? But I hear you. That is a ridiculous, like us here right now. Like, yes, that is a ridiculous question. I thought it was funny that just after Lolo got a question, whoever was after her, the question was, has Lolo Jones competed in a summer and winter Olympics? And she's like, why didn't I get that question? I thought that was pretty funny.
I mean, knowing Lolo, she probably would have gotten that question wrong. It was Devin who got that question, and he got it right.
Yeah.
The two finalists in the first heat were Devin and Darrell. And like Devin was looking comfortable when it was down to those two. Yeah. But then Darrell, so TJ was doing it snake style. Mm-hmm. So Darrell got two questions in a row.
Yeah.
And he got them both right. And Devin was just done for, because there's no like even strategy. Like it's obviously going on Devin.
Yeah.
And like that was it.
Yeah.
Very impressed with Darrell, who is notoriously scared of heights. So he did really well. I was really pleased with him. I do have one question for you, though.
Okay.
From the trivia. Did you know that the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland?
No.
See, I mean, I'm of Scottish descent, so I was well aware. But it's like one of those things, like I wasn't sure if it was common knowledge or not. Like I know it, but like my mom and I sometimes speak Scots Gaelic to each other. Like
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very well aware. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
know
yeah.
that it might not be
No,
common
I
knowledge.
did
So I'm like,
not. I would not have known that. I would have gotten that wrong. Sitting here with you, I'd have been like, "What? Really?" Yeah, I would have gotten that wrong. But Heat two. So you mentioned Darrell wins Heat one. Heat two. I guess the big thing was Big T is shook mega early, and that was
yeah,
just funny. Amber B and Gabby were going back and forth at each other. I don't know if there were any real questions that stood out that much to me. And like the second heat is pretty, and they did a lot of the speeding it up, just showing the answers. But yeah, the train to get Theresa off was just in full motion. Cam and Leroy just sending their shots to her, and she falls off. Cam was close at the very end. It came down to who? Cam and Nam.
yeah,
Yeah, Cam and Nam. And Cam just kept touching the side of the barrier, which obviously makes it easier. And so she ends up getting disqualified at the end. But Darrell ends up beating out Nam, and he was the overall winner. Darrell wins, and so Amber B also wins, and that's a clutch win for Amber B.
it
And
is.
what
Sorry,
did you think of?
I
Sorry,
just want to
yeah,
say I have two thoughts from that second heat.
okay.
The first was that as much as I like Teresa, as much as I think she's played a solid game,
Mm-hmm.
she made a real strategic error in that she's just sort of like she gets one of her questions correct early on. Big T's begging her, don't say my name. So she puts it on Amber B when if you're Teresa, the obvious person that you target is Cam because Cam's already out for you. So,
Yeah.
and like, Cam and Leroy are coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to target one of them. And you also have to figure, no disrespect to Leroy, but that Cam would be better at this competition. Like, Cam's a very intelligent woman.
Yeah.
That was it. That, just like a small quibble. Teresa should have targeted Cam, not Amber B. The other thing was when it came down to Darrell and Nam, they cut to Lolo saying, not only is Nam really impressive physically, but he's actually pretty smart too. And she said she was really stressing about this game, about this daily competition. And I noted, like, unlike all those other games where Lolo's cool, calm, and collected, like, when is she
Right.
not stressing? Like,
Exactly. Um, yeah. And so, as mentioned, Amber B, Darrell win, and their special prize on top of the 5K each is they get Whopper sandwiches for life. Now, we can speak freely on this because obviously it's not like we're sponsored by McDonald's or anything, but Whoppers for life. I don't know what I would do with that. I think I might like sell that to someone because I
I
don't want
couldn't,
Whoppers for life. I couldn't tell you
yeah,
the last time I had a Whopper.
I have that in my notes. I can't remember the last time went to Burger King.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure where there is a Burger King in Toronto, which
they're
they're,
around. It's
they're
random, but
around.
they're around.
There was one at Young in college through like
Mm-hmm.
the mid 2000s, but like aside from that, I don't know where there's like I can tell you where there's Wendy's, certainly where there's McDonald's,
Yeah, I think there's
Harvey's.
one on Young Street somewhere for sure, like Young and or somewhere, I feel like, but again, I'm not even sure. And there's one in Scarborough near my house, I feel like, but I still don't remember the last time I went to Burger King. But even if I switched it and said, like, okay, so let's say every couple of weeks I'll have a McDonald's cheeseburger or something, a double cheeseburger, right? Even if you told me it was like Big Macs for life, like I don't eat enough of that for that to be an actual prize. I feel like I would sell that to someone. And even if I sold it to someone for like $500, right? Someone who actually goes to McDonald's a lot, that'd be worth it for them.
If it were McDonald's or Harvey's, I would be down. Like
I
through
still
the
don't even
pandemic,
think I would want that. I still don't even think I would want that. Whatever the fast food is, I still don't think I would want that because I wouldn't eat it enough to care about it.
through the pandemic, there was certainly a period of like maybe 2 months where I went to Harvey's at least once a week.
Is
Like,
there
is my
Harvey's in the
go?
States?
No, it's purely Canadian.
Oh, okay.
And then McDonald's is like my go-to hangover food.
Yeah,
Or
I think
like,
that's everybody's. Yeah, that's fair.
so like I knowing myself and knowing my vices, that would be That'd be useful,
Yeah,
especially not having to like think about it. You know what I mean? Like
no,
just
for
like,
sure.
oh, do I have the cash after like a night out to be like, yeah, I got this. Like I can get my double cheeseburgers, no problem. That would be
Yeah,
good. But the Burger King, like, surely not just you and I, but surely all of our listeners can agree. Burger King is a second class fast food chain. Like, not second class. It's not like top three, I think, for anyone.
yeah. I mean, I again, I have no idea the last time I've had Burger King, but that seemed like I'll take the 5 grand. Thanks, Burger King.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Five K is like some mortgage payments. Like, sign me up.
Let's
But
go. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so let's discuss this for a bit here because we get to the liquor dome, right? And to me, the most interesting part here was Nani, because Nani comes and she's dropping some game on Amber B. Because as of this point, the thought is that she's going to put in Gabby, right? And Nani comes in to drop some game and says, put in Theresa and make a power move so that we ensure we get out someone strong. And she's like, what about someone like Lolo or Casey? And I thought in that moment, I'm like, Casey, why would she throw in Casey? Like, Casey's her people's. It didn't even occur to me because of how this game's been played so far that Casey would be like, yeah, I want to go in and get my skull. Like, that didn't even occur to me. And so I want your take here on, is this the right play? Because I get why this is the right play for Nani, because Nani wants to get out stronger players, right? And she's not in control right now. So it's not like Nani can put herself in against someone weak. She can't control all of it. But is this the right play for Amber B?
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so
this is the
either.
right play. And just like broadly speaking, I know this is sort of skipping ahead in the episode, but Durrell is later sort of critical of Amber
Sure.
B, where he's like, why is she not calling her own number and getting her
Mm-hmm.
skull and like getting the work done?
Yeah.
And I guess her if the target is to if the idea is to get yourself in there, the name that you have to be saying is Big T, right? Like, because
Yeah.
Amber B for sure could take Big T in most competitions.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem with the Amber B's whole like, yeah, I'm close with the rookie girls, but I'm more loyal to the Big Brother Alliance
Mm-hmm.
is that I don't see the Big Brother Alliance bending their backs to get Amber B a gold skull.
Exactly.
And like I understand that early on Casey said to her like, you're a big brother, we're big brother, we're in this together. And
Mm-hmm.
I get how she feels galvanized by that because Devin has been like, fuck Big Brother, I'm coming after anyone that was on that show, fuck
Yeah.
them. But ultimately, that Big Brother alliance, like if Josh and Fessy have a choice, they're going to back up Casey.
Mm-hmm.
If Casey has a choice, she's going to pick herself over Amber B or Josh and Fessy over Amber B. Like she
Mm-hmm.
is the fourth most important person in that alliance at best, right? Like I could see those three prioritizing someone in another alliance
Yeah.
more than them backing up Amber B. So like I see the logic in this sort of like into if you're in that headspace that Amber B clearly is that like, oh, I'm Big Brother ride or die, but like that crew's not ride or die for you, Amber B.
I just think it's a bad move because you know that it's the last female skull available, according to what we know at this point of the game. So that means if you're not going in now to get your skull, you're going to have to take a skull from someone who already has one. So that means, would you rather be in control now, where you clearly have the numbers to do whatever you want, right? To put in Gabby, where you could go against Gabby or Big T, or maybe you don't have the numbers for Big T, but you at least have the numbers for Gabby. And you say, hey, I'm going to go in and try to get my skull that way. As opposed to now, either have some crazy purge competition, or you have to steal like Anissa's skull, or you have to steal Cam's skull, like, or Casey's skull. So it really didn't make much sense. And I get what Nani was doing, but I didn't really get what what Amber B was doing. And I found it weird too that Darrell, and I mean, we didn't see it because it was only in confessionals where he said this. I was surprised that Darrell wasn't trying to tell her, no, 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 this is what we should do. But he took the approach of, no, 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 this is going to be a girls' week. I'm going to let her play her game, which I kind of understand. But I also think that if you're going to slander her in the confessionals, I want to at least see a conversation where you're like, so what do you think about you actually going in? Are you going to take it? And I think he kind of tried to nudge her at that. And she straight up just lied and was like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to wait and see what it was. It's like, that's not true. That's a lie. As soon as you put Theresa in, you're not going in against Theresa, right? Like, we know this, right? She knows it. We all know it. As soon as you told everyone to make the House vote for Theresa, there was no chance Amber B was going in.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, there is logic to Amber B's decision. I just don't think it's the best. I also think she's far too easily influenced by others.
Yeah, because she doesn't know what the game is, right? And again, it's not like she did well on Big Brother. So she's either going to just listen to what the Big Brother Alliance is saying, or in this instance, she listened to what Nany was saying. But I will give Casey a lot of credit because I like that Casey was like, oh, yeah, I can go in against Theresa. I think I can take out anybody. So, yeah, I respected it. I liked it. And I don't rep Casey on this show. I didn't rep Casey on Big Brother. I think Casey's kind of, just a fly on the wall and kind of just seems pretty boring and is in the background trying to just win challenges, which, I think is kind of cool on a gameplay standpoint. But from a viewer standpoint, it's pretty boring, right? But I like that in terms of gameplay. She's like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready to go in against anybody. She probably has been wanting to go in for the whole time, right? Just to get her skull. So I thought that was cool. What I didn't think was cool was the deliberation. The deliberation, nothing happened. Nobody said anything the whole time. And I thought that was super weird.
There was a couple character moments that I liked. I liked that Kyle opened it up and was like, do we have any volunteers? Because that's a really good way to try to get the conversation rolling. And also, I mean, Theresa in confessional, Nany says oh, it's a bad sign that no one will say to Theresa who they're voting for. Theresa should know that she's going in. But I also like that sense. Theresa was trying to I think what Theresa was trying to do is she wanted people to expose their own strategies by opening up. Theresa is no dummy. She knows that she's going in, but I think she wanted people to say they're going to vote for her so she can see where everyone lies.
Yeah.
What I also thought was interesting though was that Nany, when Kyle asks for any volunteers, Nany shakes her head no, and Kyle or someone jokingly says oh, Nany, not this time. You're just gonna wait till next time. Sort of
Theresa. That was Theresa.
There's Theresa, and things got heated between Nany and Theresa immediately, and something just tells me that they're not actually over their beef. I know that they say they buried the hatchet, but Nany is definitely working behind the scenes to put the knife into Theresa. Theresa is they clearly just do not like each other at all. It's a pretty hot beef in its way.
Totally. It was super weird. It was strange, but you came away knowing exactly what was going to go down, and it essentially did, right? It ends up being the vote for Theresa to go in. TJ, I like that TJ did the same pump fake where he made it seem as if it might have been the guys going in. And so that was pretty funny. And, again, we see the shot of Amber walking in and she's like, this looks physical, right, Terrell? This looks physical. Okay, I'm not going to go in. And it's like, you were never going to go in. You're not fooling me anyways. So the challenge basically was, kind of like the tug of war, except, you're attached by the bungee cord to your back and you have to just pull and get 3 rings off of the bar and basically rotate them, take them off, put them on another one. And you have to do that 3 times before your opponent does, and you win. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think they edited it to make it look somewhat difficult or somewhat close, but Casey just wiped the floor with her. Even as much as they edited it together to make it seem as if it was more difficult for her, I think Casey won easily.
You know what the telltale sign was? They had a couple aerial shots, and on Casey's side, you see like marks all over the sand.
Yeah.
Like she was traveling. You see like it's like the ground's all dug up. You see like that she's been traveling back and forth, left to right. And like Theresa's side was basically clean. Like Theresa basically went in a straight line and then held on for dear life. And like it didn't. I thought the cinematography on this elimination was good. Like they had great moments of like you see Casey reaching for the ring and then like gets yanked back by Theresa. Like it was well done in that respect. But also, you're totally right. This was a blowout. Casey wins 3-0.
Yeah.
It was not. Theresa was never even in danger of putting her ring on one of the posts.
Not at all. And I want to give a shout out to Leroy, who might be the greatest hype man there is. Like he was also giving like strategic points to Casey in terms of which way to go and stuff like that, but also just like hyping her up. Like, she don't want it, Casey. She don't want it. Drag her. She's ready to go home. I was like, this is amazing.
It seems like the only person cheering for Theresa was Devin because hashtag fuck Big Brother. And Corey even said in confessional where he's like, I'm ready for Theresa to go home. Like she's my partner.
Yeah.
But her actions are just putting a target on my back. I will say for me, I'm sorry Theresa's gone. I like her a lot in the house because she was trying to blaze her own path. I think a lot of people on this season have played a scared game. Yeah. As Darrell pointed out, no one wants to go down into the crater, even though that's...
Even Leroy said in the deliberation. Yeah.
And that's the point of the format of the show. And Theresa wanted the smoke. Theresa was playing her own game. She was making moves for herself. And ultimately, it's a singles game. And she was not at all shook about going into the crater. Yeah. Right? Like, she was down. She was gunning for people. And, like, you know, she was stirring it up in a good way. Not in the Josh way, but, like, a legitimate, like, thoughtful, I'm coming for you, I'm here to win kind of way. And, like, without her, I'm worried what the season's going to look like, because it's just going to be like the Cam and Leroy alliance and the Big Brother alliance sort of fumbling their way towards victory. Yeah. You know, Devin and Kyle are obviously a team, but they're, at least for now, going with that flow. And like, you know, they showed the mid-season trailer after this.
Yeah.
But, and like, it looks like there's some drama. It looks like there's some heated moments, but in terms of the strategy of the politics of the game, I don't know how much is left in the tank for this season. What do you think?
I think we don't know anything. Like, I think even they throw in like the misdirection of saying the skulls mean, or nobody's guaranteed making it to the final, or whatever the TJ soundbite was that basically insinuated that like your skulls mean nothing. It's like, we don't know what the pump fake is there, but we know that it's a pump fake, right? So we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. I think the season's been good from a strategy standpoint because it's taken them a while to figure out the game. And a lot of people have gotten screwed in the sense that they're not going to let Lolo try to get a skull. They're not going to let CT try to get a skull, or Nam. And I think that, you know, that side of it has been a part of the strategy as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's been all right. I like the strategy.
What was your line of the episode?
My line of the episode goes to Anissa, who at the very end of the episode says, she's talking about how Theresa's gone and Theresa was Corey's partner. And she's like, this is crazy. First, it was that you couldn't get next to Corey because you were going to get pregnant. And now you can't get next to Corey because you're going to leave the game. Close quote.
That was also going to be my line of the episode. But just before that, there was another great line where Kyle says, Corey's lost track of how many partners he's had, which is funny because that applies to both the show and probably in real life.
I thought you were going to say that applies to both Corey and Kyle as well.
Fair.
In terms of, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Takes one to know one with Kyle. Who was your MVP? Who killed it for you this week?
Honestly, who killed it for me is Casey. And that's just because I like that Casey, it was so simple for her. And it was a reminder of how simple the game can be, right? Because she was just like, I think I can beat anybody. So yeah, I'm going to go into the elimination and get my skull. Like, I respected that in the moment. And again, I'm saying this not being a Casey fan at all, but it's like this game, we keep talking about all the twists and turns and what's going to happen next and all these things when, yeah, it's really that simple. You need a skull. As we're told, you need a skull to get into the final. Yes, I will go down and get my skull because I think I can beat anybody. Cool. I expected it. For that, Casey, you're the MVP of the, and then you dominated, right? Then you backed it up. So yeah, Casey, you're the MVP. You killed it.
I'd say Casey was my runner-up.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with everything you said. Obviously, just like I will go a step further. I do not like Casey, but she's playing the game well.
Okay.
And this was the right move. She's in a great position. For me, the MVP was Amber M, who, like I said, is really showing us something in terms of being a straight shooter
mm-hmm.
and being direct and being true to herself. And, you know, at one point earlier in the episode, everyone's in the kitchen and Amber B and Casey are sort of off the side having a conversation. And Amber B says, oh, I feel like it's a little mean girlish in here right now because Gabby and Amber M are chatting with each other. And, you know, Amber B is clearly feeling like she's on the outside looking in from that friend group that she used to be part of. And they're not being mean girlish. They're being straight up to your face, Amber B, that they are unhappy with the decisions you've made. Like, there's no backstabbing from Amber M and Gabby. They're being straight up. They're like, hey, like, you fucked me on this. And like, you're being shady. That's not two-faced if they're saying it to your face. Like, I really like how Amber M handles her business. I don't know how well she'll do in a physical competition. She's paired with Corey now, which, as much as I love him, he's been the kiss of death to his partners this season.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what she does going forward. So, Amber M, you killed it. Where can the good people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, and on Twitch on Blast Podcast. We got a lot of things cooking, a lot of things moving on YouTube. Sheldon Alexander. Like and subscribe to the podcast. We got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things cooking, a lot of things brewing. We'll say that much. Say that.
I didn't know that you were on Twitch. I didn't know that you were so into playing Call of Duty.
It's a recent development.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jchidleyhill. I'm not on Twitch because I'm not as cool as Sheldon, just as I am not on TikTok because I'm old and death is around the corner. Until next week, this was You Killed It.
Because I'm at work, I'm not going to yell, you killed it. I'll just say, you killed it.
On blast.